Hi, so I'm back with puzzle 3. I recall that the question was how many moves to checkmate, and it's white to play, so how many moves to checkmate the black king? Uh, well, first, to checkmate, you need to check. And so it's easy to see that it's actually not possible to checkmate in one move. Well, to check, you have the knight d5. You can play knight d6 check, but it's not mate. You can take in c7, but it's not mate. And you could also move the queen from b6 to e6. Check, of course, it's just losing the queen, so it's really bad, and it's not checkmate. So there is actually obviously no checkmate in one move. So we're gonna try to find one in two moves. Okay, so let's pick the analyzer. Well, if you didn't see the previous video, you can try to solve the puzzle now. You can pause the video and try to solve it. Okay, let's go for the solution. So there is a move you just want to play. It's actually queen f6 because you can then checkmate in e7. You can checkmate in f7 also if the king is moving in f8. And you could even take the black rook in h8, and it can actually be also a checkmate. Of course, black can play something. So what is possible? If the black king is not moving, actually you just play queen e7 checkmate. Okay. If the black king is moving, it's in f8, but then you have queen takes in f7 checkmate. So it seems really easy to checkmate in two moves, but the problem is if black castle, how you checkmate in two moves? I can let a few seconds for this. Well, of course, it's easy to see that it's just not possible. You could checkmate in three moves, like you have to play this and then checkmate. But since you already played one move with the queen f6, you have only one move now to checkmate in two moves, and it's not possible in this position to checkmate in one move. Of course, remember that it's a retrograde analysis puzzle, so the key will be to show that in this position, black cannot castle. So, to give the proof of this, we need to show that at least the rook in h8 or the king in e8 already moved during the game. Okay. In retrograde analysis, something you actually use a lot is to count the pieces that are actually missing, and you can see which piece could be taken by actually the pawns. The pawns are central in retrograde analysis because when a pawn is taking something, it will change from column, and so you can actually know that the piece was taken there. So, for instance, you know that a piece was taken in b5 by the pawn which started in a7. You also know that the pawn in a5, if it started from c2, took two black pieces. And also the pawn in h5 had to take three pieces in a row in f3, g4, h5. Okay, so Now, how many pieces are missing for black and for white? For white, we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 pieces. So only one white piece is actually missing. And this piece was taken in b5. We know this. Or maybe in b6, maybe, maybe it was taken in b6 and then black played b5, b6, b5, but it's the same thing. I mean, the pawn in b5 took this piece. And what is the piece which is actually missing? It's a pawn. Probably the pawn which started in d2. How many black pieces are actually missing? So we have one, okay, this pawn is there, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces are missing for black. And we know that this pawn and this pawn took already 5. So it leaves us with 2 possible other captures for white. But we know that the bishop, which started in c8, was taken on c8. So we have only one possible capture to try to do something. I mean, for white, only one possible capture is living. Okay, so now, which piece was taken on b5? Actually, it was a white pawn, okay? And we know that this white pawn must be the pawn which started in d2. Because if it's in c2, then, well, it's even worse, because the pawn in a5 had to take 3 times there, and so we have no capture that are actually possible for white, because it would be 3 for this pawn, 3 for this pawn, plus the bishop c8 took on c8, and so we don't have any capture that are possible, and it would be a problem, because to reach column B, the pawn which actually started in c2 or d2 must take something to reach b5 or b6. So actually, it's not the pawn in c2. It's not possible, because the pawn in c2 couldn't take anything to reach column B and couldn't be promoted to reach column B. But it's possible for the pawn actually in D, which started in d2. We have 2 captures for the pawn which started in c2 to reach a5. We have 3 captures for the pawn in h5 which started in e2. And we have a capture in c8. So since 7 black pieces are missing, we still have one available capture for the pawn which started in d2. And it means that to be taken in column B, this pawn had to be promoted. And since only one possible capture is available, it means that he took something on column E and was promoted in e8. And to be promoted in e8, the black king had to move to let this pawn being promoted in e8. So in this position, it means that black cannot castle. And so we have a mate in 2 moves, because the castle is not possible, is not available at the moment for black. And so the game is over. If black is not moving the king, it will be a mate, as I said, in e7. And if the black king moves in f8, it will be a mate in f7. Okay, that's all for this problem. Did you had it? Did you had it completely or not? Well, you can tell me in the comments if you had this solution, and I will leave you with the next puzzle. Puzzle 4. This is the puzzle. First, you need to know that this problem is on a monochromatic chess game. I will give you the definition. And the question is, where was the black king 2 moves ago? And in this position, it's white to play. So black made a move, white made a move, and black made a move. So this is the question. 2 black moves ago, where was the black king? And it's white to play in this position. Okay, so since this game was played on a monochromatic chess, you need the definition. I will just end this video by talking about this. Well, in chess you have monochromatic chess and bichromatic chess that are actually possible. These are just chess variants, and these 2 variants are interesting for retrograde analysis because it gives some possibilities. So monochromatic chess is a chess variant with a known origin, the initial board position, and all rules are the same as in regular chess, except that pieces that begin on a black square must always stay on a black square, and pieces that begin on a white square must always stay on a white square. Okay, this would mean that the knights, for instance, can never move. Yeah. You have 3 ways actually to play monochromatic chess. You can let the knights on the board and they cannot move. You can play the game with removing the knights, and you can play the game changing the rules for the knights, like playing in 3-1 instead of 2-1. Well, there it will be the first. The knights are there, but they cannot move. This is the rules I used for my problem. And of course, in bichromatic chess is the opposite, like a piece on a white square must move to a black square and vice versa. Okay. So you have actually the definition, and now you can solve the puzzle. You have also here on the monochromatic chess page on Wiki a problem of the famous Raymond Smullyan that I talked in my first video. As you can see in this problem, in a monochromatic game, you have a white pawn in d2, a white pawn in f2, a white king in b4, and a black king in e8, and you have a pawn in g3. Maybe it's a white pawn, maybe it's a black pawn, and the question is, what color is pawn g3? Well, it's a really easy problem if you know a little monochromatic chess. In monochromatic chess, it's not possible to make a long castle because the rook in a1 would go in d1, and it's not the same color, but only short one is possible. And since you have the white king in b4, which actually started in e1, to reach b4 in monochromatic game, it means that he had to castle, and then from g1 he had to go to b4, and so this pawn cannot be white, because if this pawn was white, it came from h2, and the white king couldn't reach b4. So the answer of the problem is the pawn in g3 must be black. Okay, so this was just another homage to Mr. Smullyan, and now I let you with this problem, and good luck. Tell me in the comments if you have it. Bye.